You have 24 hours to demolish that eyesore, or we're calling the sheriff. That's what the HOA president screamed at me right before I revealed the secret that would destroy her entire world. There I was, 3 days into building my dream cabin, when this woman storms onto my land with a clipboard and an attitude. Victoria Ashworth, HOA Queen Bee, demanding I tear down everything because it violates community standards. The smell of pine sap from fresh lumber mixed with her choking perfume as gravel crunched under more angry neighbors' SUVs. She's waving legal papers, threatening massive fines, acting like she owns the place. Little did she know, I had information that would flip this power game completely upside down. Information that would turn her threats into the most expensive mistake of her life. But before I tell you how one phone call legally obliterated an entire HOA, drop a comment. What would you do if neighbors tried to steal your land? And tell me where you're watching from. HOA nightmares unite us all. My name's Brennan, 45, recently divorced electrician who inherited 5 acres of Colorado mountain paradise from my eccentric Uncle Silas. After months of courtroom hell and living in a cramped city apartment, this land felt like salvation, a place where I could build something real and maybe convince my teenage daughter Emma that her old man wasn't a complete failure. The land was breathtaking. Creek water gurgled over smooth stones, hawk cries echoed off granite cliffs, and the sharp scent of pine sap mixed with wild sage created nature's own perfume. Standing there breathing air that didn't taste like exhaust fumes, I felt hope for the first time in months. I cashed out my 401k, quit my city job, and started building a modest log cabin. Day 3 of construction, she appeared. Victoria Ashworth emerged from a pristine white BMW X5, like some corporate angel of death. Mid-50s, designer business casual, clutching a leather portfolio like a shield. Her heels clicked against the rocky ground with military precision, and her perfume clashed with the mountain air so violently it made my eyes water. "Excuse me." She marched across my property like she owned it. "Are you the individual responsible for this unauthorized construction?" I set down my circular saw. Brennan, building a cabin on my land." "You are." Victoria Ashworth, Pine Valley HOA president. "This construction violates multiple community covenants. No permits, no architectural review, no environmental assessment. This rustic approach threatens our property values significantly." I looked around at pristine wilderness stretching to the horizon. "What community? I don't see any houses." "The Pine Valley Homeowners Association governs all residential properties within our jurisdiction." She produced an official-looking document. "Your uncle signed these covenants when we formed 6 months ago. You inherited his obligations. 6 months ago. Uncle Silas died 8 months ago." She handed me a cease and desist order demanding immediate construction halt, plus a bill for $2,500 in accumulated violation penalties. "Remove all materials within 48 hours, Victoria announced. "Daily fines begin at $500, doubling weekly. We protect our community standards very seriously." But then she delivered the real message. "Let me be frank, Mr. Brennan." Her eyes swept over my work clothes, beat-up truck, and calloused hands. "This isn't the type of neighborhood where people in your situation typically thrive. We maintain certain expectations about resident quality. I'd hate for your daughter to be embarrassed by any unpleasantness." The mention of Emma hit like a punch to the gut. This woman had researched me, knew about my divorce, my financial struggles, my kid. "Are you threatening my family?" Victoria's smile was sharp as winter wind. "I'm offering friendly advice. Some battles aren't worth fighting, especially when you're clearly outmatched." She climbed back into her BMW, but paused before driving off. 48 hours, Mr. Brennan. Don't make this harder than necessary." As her taillights disappeared down the mountain road, Uncle Silas's final words echoed in my head. "Don't let anyone push you around." Victoria didn't wait 48 hours. She came back the next morning with a lawyer and handcuffs-level confidence. Douglas Cranky looked like he got his law degree from a Cracker Jack box. Cheap suit, coffee-stained tie, briefcase held together with duct tape. "Mr. Brennan," Victoria announced with theatrical authority, "you're being served with official legal documents. Cease construction immediately and prepare for financial consequences." Cranky nervously shuffled papers. "Pursuant to Pine Valley HOA covenants, you owe $15,000 in retroactive violation penalties. Furthermore, you never received proper HOA disclosure documents during property transfer, voiding your ownership claims. 15 grand for building on my own land. I'll review these with my attorney, I said calmly. Victoria's laugh cracked like ice. You can't afford an attorney, Mr. Brennan. Save yourself the embarrassment. The minute they left, I drove straight to the county courthouse. Betty, the friendly clerk, helped me dig through property records. The Pine Valley HOA was formed exactly 6 months ago, 2 months after Uncle Silas died. The boundaries were drawn like a perfect target around my property, including just 12 houses. My 5 acres represented 60% of their total land area. That's mighty suspicious, Betty whispered. Looks like someone drew those lines specifically to trap your uncle's land. Every HOA member was either Victoria's relative or worked for her husband's construction company. This wasn't community governance. It was organized crime with a clipboard. I called Sarah Kim, a razor-sharp real estate attorney. This is legally impossible, Sarah said, spreading documents across her conference table. You cannot retroactively bind a dead person to new covenants formed after their death. But Victoria escalated fast. She created a Pine Valley Community Safety Facebook group, posting my photo alongside warnings about transient criminals threatening children and property values. The comments were vicious poison. Then came the sabotage. Someone took a baseball bat to my lumber pile at 3 a.m., scattering 2x4s like giant pickup sticks. My generator lay on its side, fuel soaking into pine needles. Roofing nails glittered across my access road like deadly confetti. My security cameras captured everything. Tommy Ashworth, Victoria's son, attempting midnight arson with a gas can. When I showed Sheriff Davidson the footage, Victoria's concerned citizen narrative crumbled faster than her son's alibi. But I wasn't finished digging. Sarah and I discovered Victoria's real game at the courthouse. Mountain Vista Resorts had approached the county 6 months ago with plans for a $50 million luxury resort. The proposed location needed my 5 acres as the scenic centerpiece. According to the development agreement, they couldn't break ground without acquiring all residential properties within the designated tourism corridor. Look at this consultation fee, Betty whispered, pointing to a line buried in county planning documents. Mountain Vista paid someone $400,000 for community relations consulting. Sarah's coffee cup froze halfway to her lips. That's not consulting. That's a bribe with a business card. Victoria wasn't just collecting HOA fees. She was earning a massive commission for delivering my property to developers. Every day I held out cost her hundreds of thousands of dollars in resort profits. The next morning, I was prying up floorboards in Uncle Silas's workshop when my crowbar hit something that definitely wasn't wood. The metallic clang echoed through the dusty space. Beneath 40 years of sawdust, I found a steel lockbox painted military green. Inside were manila folders thick as phone books and enough legal paperwork to choke a courtroom. The incorporation certificate on top made my hands shake. Brennan Holdings LLC, incorporated March 15, 1998. Sole proprietor, Silas J. Brennan. My uncle hadn't just owned 5 acres. He'd secretly formed a holding company 27 years ago and used it to quietly acquire the defaulted mortgage debt for the entire subdivision during the 2010 housing crash. Every single property in Victoria's HOA kingdom was built on land that Uncle Silas owned through his holding company. The homeowners had been paying their mortgages faithfully, thinking they owned their land. But legally, they were tenants. Victoria Ashworth, HOA president and queen of harassment, had been collecting fees on land she didn't own. Her own house was sitting on property where she was 3 months behind on rent. I could legally evict her with 30 days' notice. The Pine Valley Community Center had never seen a crowd like this. 89 people packed into a space designed for maybe 60, with news cameras positioned along the walls. Victoria stood at the podium like a general addressing troops before battle, her PowerPoint presentation titled, "Protecting Our Community, the Marcus Brennan Threat Assessment." Ladies and gentlemen, she began, we gather tonight to address the clear and present danger that Marcus Brennan represents to our peaceful community. I sat in the back row holding a leather document folder that contained enough legal dynamite to level mountains. Victoria's presentation was masterful manipulation. Photos of my threatening construction project, screenshots of my menacing social media presence, charts showing declining property values. This individual owes our community $97,000 in accumulated fines and legal fees, Victoria announced. He has repeatedly threatened violence against families and yesterday was investigated by federal authorities for terrorist activities. Furthermore, she continued, clicking to a financial slide, Mr. Brennan's continued presence threatens a major economic development opportunity. Mountain Vista Resorts has offered our community partnership in a $50 million project that would create jobs and increase property values significantly. There it was. The real motivation finally revealed on record. Victoria opened the floor for victim impact statements, and 3 rehearsed neighbors delivered tearful testimonies about feeling unsafe. Then Victoria made her fatal mistake. Does anyone else have concerns about this dangerous individual threatening our community? I stood up slowly. I do, actually. Victoria's confident smile faltered. You're not a member of this community. You have no right to speak here. Actually, Victoria, I said, walking toward the front, I think you'll find I have every right to speak. In fact, I have more rights in this room than anyone else. My name is Marcus Brennan, and I'm the sole owner of Brennan Holdings, LLC, I announced, removing Uncle Silas's incorporation documents, which means I'm the legal landlord of every single house in this subdivision. The silence was so complete you could hear individual heartbeats. Then the room exploded into chaos. That's impossible. Victoria grabbed for my documents. This is our neighborhood. We own these homes. You own the structures, Victoria, but the land underneath belongs to me. Has for 27 years through my uncle's holding company. I spread the property deeds across the podium like playing cards. Every monthly payment you thought was going to your mortgage company was actually rent forwarded to Brennan Holdings. Every HOA fee you've been collecting, you've been stealing money from people for managing land you don't own. Sheriff Davidson stepped forward. Mrs. Ashworth, you've been collecting association fees on property that belongs to Mr. Brennan. Victoria's mask cracked completely. You can't do this. I've spent years building this community. You're just some drifter who doesn't belong here. Actually, I said, pulling out rent payment records, you're 3 months behind on your own rent, which means I have legal grounds to evict you with 30 days notice. Victoria lunged for the documents, screaming about property rights until Sheriff Davidson was forced to restrain her. But I'm not here for revenge, I announced over the chaos. I'm here to offer partnership. Those of you who participated in harassment campaigns have 30 days to find new housing. Everyone else, your rent just got cut in half, and we're building a real community together. As federal agents entered to arrest Victoria for wire fraud, her final scream echoed through the mountains. You can't do this to me. I am this community. But communities aren't built on theft and lies. They're built on truth. 3 months later, I was sitting on my cabin porch watching neighborhood kids play safely when Emma arrived with news that made my heart soar. Dad, I got into Colorado State with a full scholarship. And you know what convinced the admissions committee? My essay about how my father taught me that real strength isn't about getting revenge. It's about building something better from the ashes of corruption. Victoria Ashworth was serving 18 months in federal prison, plus paying $150,000 in restitution. The remaining 41 neighbors had embraced our community transformation. With rent reduced to half their previous payments, families suddenly had money for home improvements, education, and actual emergency savings. The Silas Brennan Community Justice Fund, established with money recovered from Victoria's schemes, now provides free legal aid for families fighting corrupt homeowner associations across 3 states. We got another call yesterday, Sarah reported. Family in Oregon facing the exact same playbook. Emma looked up from her scholarship letter, eyes blazing with inherited determination. Are we going to help them, Dad? We're going to try, sweetheart. Uncle Silas taught me that real power builds communities instead of tearing them down. As purple twilight settled over the mountain peaks, children's laughter echoed across the valley where Victoria's angry threats used to ring. Sometimes the sweetest victory is building something so beautiful it erases the memory of ugliness. Drop a comment sharing your own HOA nightmare story. You're not alone in these battles, and your experience might help other families fighting similar corruption. If this story helped you understand your rights against predatory community associations, smash that subscribe button and hit the bell for HOA Stories, where we expose the truth about power-hungry neighbors and the legal weapons ordinary people can use to fight back. Thanks for watching HOA Stories. If this episode made you laugh or shake your head at HOA madness, hit that like button and drop your opinion below. We post HOAKaren chaos and neighborhood showdowns every week, so be sure to subscribe to catch the next unbelievable story.